Chapter 19 Simeon's Land. Simeon was the second tribe chosen to receive land, and the region for its clans was inside Judah's borders. In one region of Simeon's tribal land, there were the following 13 towns with their surrounding villages: Beersheba, Shema, Molada, Hazar Shuar, Bala, Ezem, El-Torad, Bethur, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Susa, Beth Lebaoth, and Sharuhen. In another region, Simeon had the following 4 towns with their surrounding villages: En-Rimmon, Takan, Ether, and Ashan. Simeon's land also included all the other towns and villages as far south as Baal-Lasbeer, which is also called the Ramah of the South. Simeon's tribal land was actually inside Judah's territory. Judah had received too much land for the number of people in its tribe, so part of Judah's land was given to Simeon. Zebulun's land. Zebulun was the third tribe chosen to receive land. The southern border for its clans started in the west at the edge of the gorge near Jokneam. It went east to the edge of the land that belongs to the town of Dabeses and continued on to Marala and Sarid. It took in the land that belongs to Chisloth Tabor, then ended at Daberath. The eastern border went up to Japhia and continued north to Gath-Hefer, Ethkazin, and Rimona, where it curved towards Nea and became the northern border. Then it curved south around the Hanathon and went as far west as Iftahel Valley. Zebulun had 12 towns with their surrounding villages. Some of these were Katat, Nahalal, Shimron, Jirala, and Bethlehem. This is the tribal land, and these are the towns and villages of the Zebulun clans. Issachar's land. Issachar was the first tribe chosen to receive land. The northern border for its clans went from Mount Tabor east to the river Jordan. Their land included the following 16 towns with their surrounding villages: Zezreel, Chiseloth, Shunem, Hapharaim, Shion, Anaharath, Debirath, Kishon, Ebez, Remeth, En-Ganim, En-Hada, Beth Pazez, Tabor, Shahazuma, and Beth Shemesh. Asher's land. Asher was the 5th tribe chosen to receive land, and the region for its clans included the following towns: Helkath, Halli, Beten, Akshap, Alamelech, Amad, and Mishael. Asher's southern border ran from the Mediterranean Sea southeast along the river Shihor-Ribnath at the foot of Mount Carmel, then east to Beth Dagon on the southeast. Asher shared a border with Zebulun along the Iftahel Valley. On the eastern side, their border ran north to Beth Emek, went east of Kabul, and then on to Neiel, Abdon, Rehob, Hammon, Kana, and as far north as the city of Sidon. Then it turned west to become the northern border and went to Ramah and the fortress city of Tyre. Near Tyre, it turned toward Hosa and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. Asher had a total of 22 towns with their surrounding villages, including Mahlab, Akzib, Akko, Aphek, and Rehob. Naphtali's land. Naphtali was the 6th tribe chosen to receive land. The southern border for its clans started in the west, where the tribal lands of Asher and Zebulun meet. near Hukok. From that point, it ran east and southeast along the border with Zebulun as far as Asnoth Tabor. From there, the border went east to Haleph, Adami, Nekeb, Jabnir, then to the town called Oak in Zananim and Lakum. The southern border ended at the river Jordan, at the edge of the town named Jehudah. Naphtali shared a border with Asher on the west. The Naphtali clans received this region as their tribal land, and it included 19 towns with their surrounding villages. The following towns had walls around them: Ziddim, Zer, Hamath, Rakath, Chinnereth, Adama, Ramah, Hazor, Kadesh, Edrei, and Hazor, Iron, Migdalel, Horem, Beth Anath, and Beth Shemeth. Dan's land. Dan was the seventh tribe chosen to receive land, and the region for its clans included the following towns: Zorah, Eshtaol, Ir Shemesh, Shahalabin, Aizalon, Ithla, Elon, Timnah, Ekron, Elteke, Gibethon, Baalath, Zehud, Azor, Beneberek, Gath Rimmon, Mezarkon, and Rakon. Dan's tribal land went almost as far as Joppa. Its clans received this land and these towns with their surrounding villages. Later, when enemies forced them to leave their tribal land, they went to the town of Leshem. They attacked the town, captured it, and killed the people who lived there. Then they settled there themselves and renamed the town Dan after their ancestor, Joshua's land. The Israelites were still gathered in Shiloh in front of the sacred tent. When Eleazar the priest, Joshua, and the family leaders of Israel finished giving out the land to the tribes, the Lord had told the people to give Joshua whatever town he wanted. So Joshua chose Timnath Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, and the people gave it to him. Joshua went to Timnath Serah, rebuilt it, and lived there. Towns for protecting people accused of murder. Chapter 20, the safe towns. This is also told in Numbers 35, 9-15, Deuteronomy 9, 1-13. One day the Lord told Joshua, when Moses was still alive, I told him to tell the Israelites about the safe towns. Now you tell them that it is time to set up these towns. If a person accidentally kills someone and the victim's relatives say it was murder, they might try to take revenge. Anyone accused of murder can run to one of the safe towns and be safe from the victim's relatives. The one needing protection will stand at the entrance to the town gate and explain to the town leaders what happened. Then the leaders will bring that person in and provide a place to live in their town. One of the victim's relatives might come to the town looking for revenge, but the town leaders must not simply hand over the person accused of murder. After all, the accused and the victim had been neighbors, not enemies. The citizens of the safe town must come together and hold a trial. They may decide that the victim was killed accidentally and that the accused is not guilty of murder. Everyone found not guilty must still live in the safe town until the high priest dies. Then they can go back to their own towns and their homes that they had to leave behind. The Israelites decided that the following three towns west of the river Jordan would be safe towns: Kadesh in Galilee in Naphtali's hill country, Shechem in Ephraim's hill country, and Kiriath Arba in Judah's hill country. Kiriath Arba is now called Hebron. The Israelites had already decided on the following three towns east of the river Jordan: Bezer in the desert flatlands of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead, which was a town that belonged to Gad, and Golan in Bashan, which belonged to Manasseh. These safe towns were set up so that if Israelites or even foreigners who lived in Israel accidentally killed someone, they could run to one of these towns. There they would be safe until a tribal could be held, even if one of the victim's relatives came looking for revenge. Towns for the Levi tribe. Chapter 21. While the Israelites were still camped at Shiloh in the land of Canaan, the family leaders of the Levi tribe went to speak to the priest Eleazar, Joshua, and the family leaders of the other Israelite tribes. The leaders of Levi said, "The Lord told Moses that you have to give us towns and provide pastures for our animals." Since the Lord had said this, the leaders of the other Israelite tribes agreed to give some of the towns and pastures from their tribal lands to Levi. The leaders asked the Lord to show them in what order the clans of Levi would be given towns and which towns each clan would receive. The Kohath clans were first. The descendants of Aaron, Israel's first priest, were given 13 towns from the tribes of Judah, Simeon, and Benjamin. The other members of the Kohath clans received 10 towns from the tribes of Ephraim, Dan, and West Manasseh. The clans that were descendants of Gershon were given 13 towns from the tribes of Issachar, Asher, Naphtali, and East Manasseh. The clans that were descendants of Merari received 12 towns from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and Zebulun. The Lord had told Moses that he would show the Israelites which towns and pastures to give to the clans of Levi, and he did. Towns from Judah, Simeon, Benjamin. The descendants of Aaron from the Kohath clans of Levi were priests, and they were chosen to receive towns first. They were given 13 towns and the pasture land around them. 9 of these towns were from the tribes of Judah and Simeon, and 4 from Benjamin: Hebron, Ribnah, Zatir, Eshtemoa, Holon, Debir, Ashan, Juttah, and Beth Shemesh were from Judah and Simeon. Hebron in the hill country of Judah was earlier called Arba's town. It had been named after Arba, the ancestor of the Anakim. Hebron's pasture lands went along with the town, but its farmlands and the villages around it had been given to Caleb. Hebron was also one of the safe towns for people who had accidentally killed someone. Gibeon, Geba, Anathoth, and Ammon were from Benjamin. Towns from Ephraim, Dan, West Manasseh. The rest of the Kohath clans of the Levi tribe received 10 towns and the pasture land around them. 4 of these towns were from the tribe of Ephraim, 4 from Dan, and 2 from West Manasseh. Shechem, Gezer, Kibzaim, and Beth Horon were from Ephraim. Shechem was in the hill country, and it was also one of the safe towns for people who had accidentally killed someone. Eltek, Gibbethon, Aizalon, and Gath Rimmon were from Dan. Tanakh and Zebulun were from West Manasseh. Towns from East Manasseh: Issachar, Asher, Naphtali. The clans of Levi that were descendants of Gershon received 13 towns and the pasture land around them. 2 of these towns were from the tribe of East Manasseh, 4 from Issachar, 4 from Asher, and 3 from Naphtali. Golan in Bashan and Beersheba were from East Manasseh. Kishon, Daberath, Jarmuth, and En-Ganim were from Issachar. Mishal, Abdon, Helkath, and Rehob were from Asher. Kadesh in Galilee, Hamoth-dor, and Kartan were from Naphtali. Golan in Bashan and Kadesh in Galilee were also safe towns for people who had accidentally killed someone. Towns from Zebulun, Reuben, Gad. The rest of the Levi clans were descendants of Merari, and they received 12 towns with the pasture land around them. 4 towns were from the tribe of Zebulun, 4 from Reuben, and 4 from Gad. Jokneam, Karta, Rimmona, and Nahalal were from Zebulun. Bezer, Kedemoth, and Mephath were from Reuben. Bezer was in the desert flatlands east of the river Jordan across from Jericho. Ramoth in Gilead, Mahanaim, Heshbon, and Jazer were from Gad. Bezer and Ramoth in Gilead were safe towns for people who had accidentally killed someone. The people of the Levi tribe had a total of 48 towns within Israel, and they had pastures around each one of their towns. Israel settles in the land. The Lord gave the Israelites the land He had promised their ancestors, and they captured it and settled in it. There still were enemies around Israel, but the Lord kept His promise to let His people live in peace. And whenever the Israelites did have to go to war, no enemy could defeat them. The Lord always helped Israel win. The Lord promised to do many good things for Israel, and He kept His promise every time. And you have done everything I've told you to do. It's taken a long time, but you have stayed and helped your relatives. The Lord promised to give peace to your relatives, and that's what He has done. Now it's time for you to go back to your own homes in the land that Moses gave you east of the river Jordan. Moses taught you to love the Lord your God, to be faithful to Him, and to worship and obey Him with your whole heart and with all your strength. So be very careful to do everything Moses commanded. You've become rich from what you've taken from your enemies. You have big herds of cattle, lots of silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and plenty of clothes. Take everything home with you and share it with the people of your tribe. I pray that God will be kind to you. You are now free to go home. The tribes of Reuben and Gad started back to Gilead, their own land. Moses had given the land of Bashan to the East Manasseh tribe. So they started back along with Reuben and Gad. God had told Moses that these 2.5 tribes should conquer Gilead and Bashan, and they had done so. Joshua had given land west of the river Jordan to the other half of the Manasseh tribe. So they stayed at Shiloh in the land of Canaan with the rest of the Israelites. The tribes of Reuben, Gad, and East Manasseh reached the western side of the Jordan Valley and built a huge altar there beside the river. When the rest of the Israelites heard what these tribes had done, the Israelite men met at Shiloh to get ready to attack the 2.5 tribes. But first they sent the priest Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, to talk with the 2.5 tribes. Each of the tribes at Shiloh sent the leader of one of its families along with Phinehas. Phinehas and these leaders went to Gilead and met with the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the eastern Manasseh. They said, all the Lord's people have gathered together and have sent us to find out why you are unfaithful to our God. You have turned your backs on the Lord by building that altar. Why are you rebelling against Him? Wasn't our people's sin at Peor terrible enough for you? The Lord punished us by sending a horrible sickness that killed many of us, and we still suffer because of that sin. Now you are turning your backs on the Lord again. If you don't stop rebelling against the Lord at once, He will be angry with the whole nation. If you don't think your land is a fit place to serve God, then move across the Jordan and live with us in the Lord's own land, where His sacred tent is. But don't rebel against the Lord our God, or against us by building another altar besides the Lord's own altar. Don't you remember what happened when Achan was unfaithful and took some of the things that belonged to God? This made God angry with the entire nation. Achan died because he sinned, but he also caused the death of many others. The tribes of Reuben, Gad, and East Manasseh answered, the Lord is the greatest God. We ask Him to be our witness, because He knows whether or not we were rebellious or unfaithful when we built that altar. If we were unfaithful, then we pray that God won't rescue us today. Let us tell you why we built that altar, and we ask the Lord to punish us if we are lying. We didn't build it so we could turn our backs on the Lord. We didn't even build it so we could offer animal or grain sacrifices to please the Lord or ask His blessing. We built that altar because we were worried. Someday your descendants might tell our descendants, the Lord made the river Jordan the boundary between us Israelites and you people of Reuben and Gad. The Lord is Israel's God, but you are not part of Israel, so you can't take part in worshiping the Lord. Your descendants might say that and try to make our descendants stop worshiping and obeying the Lord. That's why we decided to build the altar. It isn't for offering sacrifices, not even sacrifices to please the Lord. To build another altar for offering sacrifices would be the same as turning our backs on the Lord and rebelling against Him. We could never do that. No, we built the altar to remind us and you and the generations to come that we will worship the Lord. And so we will keep bringing our sacrifice to the Lord's altar there in front of His sacred tent. Now your descendants will never be able to say to our descendants, you can't worship the Lord. But if they say this, our descendants can answer back, look at this altar our ancestors built. It's like the Lord's altar. But it isn't for offering sacrifices. It's here to remind us and you that we belong to the Lord, just as much as you do. Phinehas and the clan leaders were pleased when they heard the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and East Manasseh explain why they had built the altar. Then Phinehas told them, today we know that the Lord is helping us. You have not been unfaithful to him, and this means that the Lord will not be angry with us. Phinehas and the clan leaders left Gilead and went back to Canaan to tell the Israelites about their meeting with the Reuben and Gad tribes. The Israelites were happy and praised the Lord. Praised God. Praised God. There was no more talk about going to war and wiping out the tribes of Reuben and Gad. The people of Reuben and Gad named the altar a reminder to us all that the Lord is our God.